Saints preseason recap. Spencer Rattler officially QB2. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Off the Bench Saints. We're reacting to their reaction to the finale of the preseason for the New Orleans Saints against the Tennessee Titans. We covered it yesterday during the game, basically live. So we're going to see what some other members of the Saints media thought about the game, thought about some of the performances, and also just in general. Because now the next step is here. The next step is the regular season. So we will not see this team again until week 1 against the Carolina Panthers when it all gets real.
Let's talk a little New Orleans Saints as the third preseason game took place. There's basically no starters played, right? So
for them.
For the Saints. The Titans had some potential starters out there. I mean, not even potential. I mean, Will Levis played. Tony Pollard was out there. Tajay Spears. I mean, the Titans, some teams treat it differently. The Saints were not treating it with that much importance. Some of the starters were available. Obviously at some positions that we don't have a lot of depth in, like offensive line, like wide receiver. Starters almost have to play. And in some situations, like Trevor Penning's situation, you want to get them reps anyway. So for the most part, the Saints didn't have any starters. Certainly not Derek Carr. Certainly not Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, players like that.
A lot for the Titans.
For the Saints, there's nothing, there's no Derek Carr takes or anything else to be had after this game. There was Trevor Penning playing.
Well.
There was Spencer Rattler playing. There were some guys defensively who showed out. But the story is Spencer Rattler, right?
Two stories. First story is we're starting to see, I tweeted this out, but on Rattler's deep ball to, who was this? Was it A.T. Perry? On his deep ball, you could see the Kubiak kind of system in play, where on the play, there was a fullback in motion to a wingback position. Then there was play action. Then there was a receiver in space down the field. So that was a good microcosm, word of the day, of how this offense is going to look. And was it the most creative thing we'll probably ever see? No. But the fact that we have fullbacks moving around, going from fullback to wingback, we've got play action, all that on one play to spring a wide receiver free deep. I love it. I love seeing it. We saw a lot of the system with the running game. Like we talked about how a lot of the playbook would be hidden. Can't really hide what you're trying to do in the running game because it's just foundationally how it works. And how ours works is this zone, this kind of wide zone running scheme. We saw that on virtually every running play. And I'll say this too. Yes, the preseason, it's backups most of the time. Our running attack has been really good, I think. Certainly when you compare it to last year. I mean, you got to think too, like people always are so fast to say, well, it's against backups and it's preseason defense. It's like, well, I mean, it's also, Jordan Mims. Like it's also our backups. It's also our backup running backs and our backup quarterbacks and our backup offensive linemen in some cases. So don't make that negate a good performance. And I think our rushing attack has been much improved just systematically than what it was last year.
Yes.
After that performance yesterday. So Jake Haener gets a start. Haener also plays well. I mean, he had Haener's stat line would have looked great as well had he not had a touchdown called back for penalty.
Haener was fine. Like you're going to hear a lot about Rattler and absolutely deservedly, but Haener was fine. I think Haener is who he is and he is who we think he is. He's a good, efficient, low ceiling kind of backup, and that is totally fine. A lot of people make careers like that. He is, and that doesn't mean he can't have success when called upon, but you can see, whether you're a Jake Haener fan or a Spencer Rattler fan or what have you, you can obviously see the ceiling for Rattler is just much higher. The tools Rattler has, much better. Again, no, not a negative on Haener. It is what it is, and I'm shooting it straight. Okay, I don't have a Spencer Rattler jersey on direct order. I don't have a Jake Haener jersey that I'm burning tomorrow. I call it how I see it. Y'all know that. And I had that sneaky feeling before preseason that we would get to this point because of the tools that we identified Rattler having during the draft. And he's showing them off. Does that mean Rattler's the quarterback of the future? No. Or yes, it does. Does it mean Rattler's the quarterback of right now? No, it does not. Rattler still needs to develop. Rattler still had some bad moments and bad performances. Second game. The fumble, his fault. He had some issues, not the bad snap, the fumble where he held the ball a little too long and didn't step up into the pocket. But the Rattler hype train is back. But ladies and gentlemen, please do not mix up excitement for Rattler's future with forcing Rattler to play now. Derek Carr is the quarterback of this season. It doesn't matter how bad Carr plays. Carr would have to get injured, or there would have to be some kind of a riotous situation for Rattler to get thrown in there, which hopefully never happens. And hopefully Rattler gets to develop. We've seen what that can do for players like Jordan Love, what that did for Patrick Mahomes. And conversely, we saw what not sitting can do for some other quarterbacks, like the quarterbacks in the last couple of drafts. I mean, we have busts left and right of quarterbacks that definitely needed to sit.
But the thing about Haener versus Rattler is, while they're both playing very well, even if Haener's doing slightly better, which maybe you could statistically argue, it doesn't matter, because the reason why Rattler is so exciting is the combination of physical potential and what he's doing here in year number 1.
Yeah.
Like Haener has less physical potential. It's year 2, whereas Rattler, this is his first crack at it. We know about all that. Like, the ceiling just feels so much higher on Spencer Rattler. And maybe,
I mean, am I seeing things clear? Am I seeing things clear? And exactly and we talked about this during the draft, that Rattler has the advantage of being a year behind or ahead, however you want to phrase it, of Haener. And when players get drafted, and Rattler is he's not the finished product guaranteed thing. If next year we draft another quarterback, whether it's in the first round or the second round or the third round, whatever, all of a sudden Rattler becomes Haener. Like, this happens all the time, where a young, promising quarterback can just kind of get caught up in the machine. And we had a whole video talking about the machine and talking about contract windows and talking about coaches coming in and who drafted who and what system do you fit and all of that. And Haener is just right now, unfortunately, I guess for him, he's just a product of this machine, where he would have to really, really outplay Rattler for him to kind of take that step of maybe he's the quarterback of the future. Right now, I think the pecking order is very obvious.
Maybe what I loved most about yesterday's performance is game 1, he was tantalizing. Game 2 was a major whoa, let's pump the brakes. So to then bounce back, and in game 3 to have such a solid performance, to deliver that dime of a throw to Equanimeous St. Brown between about 4 defenders for the touchdown. Yeah. As impressive as the performance was, it's the bounce back from the disappointment of game 2 that makes me feel really good here.
Spencer Rattler has the ability to be one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the world and be a
100%
starting quarterback in the NFL. There's a reason why we were talking about him 2.5 years ago, potentially being a first-round pick and not in the late first.
Potentially being the first overall pick. Potentially being the Heisman winner. He was in a rarefied air going to Oklahoma.
First round, in the early first round. He's got that ability. Now, he dealt with a lot of things in college, one of them being Caleb Williams, who was going to probably take anybody's job.
Yeah.
And he did. He came in Red River, won the game, won the job. Spencer Rattler goes to South Carolina. It wasn't as consistent as you wanted to see, and a lot of that because of the bomb squad in front of him.
Yeah.
Again, he never complained. Even yesterday, he threw an absolute dime.
Is this to Jacobson? And that's something else I noticed. I'll even say it before Jacob says it. But there was a lot of drops for Haener and Rattler, and I was wondering if Rattler, because he feels the pressure. Rattler and Haener both feel the pressure of, I have to perform. And so when random 8th string receiver drops a pass on 3rd and 10, that's an absolute dime, and that goes down as an incompletion, and they've got to punt the football, I'm thinking Rattler could explode on the sidelines. This could be a moment where he lets a little bit of that personality that has seemingly got him in trouble, all of a sudden he lets that fly. And I never saw any of that.
Yeah.
To the tight end on about an 18-yard dig route, hits him right in the numbers, and he's like, all right, let's go. Didn't complain, right? Didn't go and shake his head or no, he's like, hey, let's go. I have dealt with this. This is not new for me. I have dealt with guys around me failing, and he was so good, T, that he's the most talented quarterback in the Saints quarterback room, and I don't think it's close. As far as talent, I'm not talking about he needs to be the starter right now. I'm not calling for him to be the starter. But
I mean, you could say, I mean, it sounds crazy, and I don't want to get ahead of myself here, and I don't think it is, but you could say that since 2005, he's the second most talented quarterback that has been in the locker room. We have had a horrible track record of getting backups or developing quarterbacks or drafting quarterbacks. I mean, the guys that we have drafted and had on the roster once Breeze signed, those scrubs and losers, I mean, I'm not sure if they would make intramural flag football teams down at Tulane, much less an NFL roster. I mean, you think Spencer Rattler is less talented than the Ian Books of the world, or the Garrett Graysons of the world, or the Trevor Simeons of the world, or the Andy Daltons of the world, or the Chase Daniels of the world, or whoever? I mean, some of these guys were horrific. You know, even the Jameis Winstons of the world. And like Jacob said, it's about the talent, the physical tools, what he has in his arsenal. We have not seen that. Obviously, Breeze is, I mean, in my opinion, he's the second best quarterback to ever play in the NFL. So he's obviously not there talent-wise. Breeze is on a different level. But, yeah, Rattler is something different. He's something that we have not seen in New Orleans. And it should be exciting, with the caveat that we're not going to see it right now. We're not going to see him play right now. There's not a chance he plays right now. I'm not even hoping he plays right now. I'm not rooting for him to play right now. Like New England, they may be rooting for Drake May to play because they may just want to see what he's got, even though I would sit Drake May too. Like, why rush it? So don't let the excitement and what we're talking about with the talent level and what we're talking about with the physical skills, we're certainly not saying, at least I'm certainly not saying that he should be anywhere near the conversation of starting. I went so far as to say in yesterday's video that if Derek Carr gets hurt, play one, game one, a la Aaron Rodgers, I would put Haener out there. I'd put Haener out there, even though we're talking about how QB2 is Rattler. I would throw Haener out there just to guarantee I'm not rushing Rattler, just to guarantee I'm not messing up his development. I wouldn't panic and just throw him out there. I'd let Jake take care of it for a few weeks or maybe even the entire season, depending on how Rattler seemed behind the scenes.
He's got the most upside, to your point.
Yeah.
He can make every single throw, and the Saints could potentially have a steal on their hands, getting him in the fifth round. He was the highest graded player the Saints had on offense yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
85.6.
Damn.
The out and up that he threw between the two DBs, I don't know that any other quarterback in that game on that field, Titan or Saint, could have made that throw.
So he is QB2 going into the season.
Again, he is the second best quarterback. Does that mean he is who you put in a backup situation? I'm not sure about that.
Why would he not be?
I think he is, because it's not like you have, to your point, if you had a Billy Volek, a Chase Daniel, a whoever, like, be a veteran guy who's like, hey, we like Spencer a lot. His upside's more than these two guys, but yeah, they've been in the league so long, and if we had to start them for 10 games, they'd get the first opportunity at it. You don't have that.
No,
these guys got two guys who are basically the same.
Yes.
And Haener has not been bad.
He's been quite good.
I mean, I think your quarterback room is interesting because a lot of the fan base does not want the starter in there, but they feel good about the 2 and 3. And it's not one of those situations where the backup quarterback's the most popular guy. I don't feel like it's that. I feel like it's because you see yesterday a guy in Spencer Rattler that's going against, again, a lot of the Titans starters. Like, the Titans treated this game much differently than the Saints did. I mean, Will Levis played the entire first quarter. Tajay Spears was in that entire game. Even when –
how about that hurdle he tried?
I know.
Yeah. He was vertical. That hurdle was nuts. He was so high in the air.
Lifted up like a cheerleader doing a stunt.
Even when Mason Rudolph came into the game, they kept the one offensive line. He was in there with Cush, like in that entire one offensive line. So this was their game that they were going to make their starters play the longest.
Yeah. And
you still went out there and did that. It was impressive.
Yeah, it was.
So I think Rattler's QB2, and maybe even potential, I don't know if this season goes really, really south immediately. And if Derek Carr has just hit that end of the road that quarterbacks sometimes hit out of nowhere, right? Like, think about when Russell Wilson was a rookie back in Seattle and how all that.
I know what he's going to say, so I'm going to answer the question already. Here's the algorithm you got to figure out. Let's say it goes really, really, really south really quick, okay? Like T-Bob's laying out there. What would be the positive of forcing Rattler in there versus the negative? The negative is he gets beat up. It's a bad team. It's going south. Team is dejected. A lot of problems. He gets, he has a negative experience, or you never know. He could get hurt. He gets down on himself. His development gets stunted. There's a lot of negatives in that situation. Not a lot of positives. Not a lot of positives at all. You could say, oh, he'll get reps. It's okay. Do that with practice. Do that with training camp. Do that with rookie minicamp. Do that with OTAs. Do that with next season, right? Like do that with preseason next season, and then the regular season next season. After you kind of outfit him with some better players around him. What would happen if, and I talked about this in the comment section a couple of videos ago, what would happen in that case is it would speed up the contracts and it would speed up the window of the next group of New Orleans Saints. So let's just say the season goes absolutely south. Let's just say the season goes totally nowhere. We're 0-9, 0-10. It's very obvious what's happening. What I would do in the front office is I would start to trim the contracts of the aging veterans. So I would try and offload guys who I know I can't carry their contract. The Alvin Kamara's, the Cam Jordans, maybe even the DeMario Davises, maybe the Tyrann Matthews, maybe the Marshawn Lattimore's, whatever. I'm just recouping what I can. I'm just getting draft picks if I can. I'm getting young players where I can. I'm freeing up the salary cap. It's already a sunken season. At that point, free it up, whatever. Then you go build the next era of the Saints, whether that's with young free agents, whether that's trading your multitude of draft picks for certain players or whatever, and then you have a ton of draft picks, so you try and hit the impact players early, try and get that next big draft class that we've seen Loomis able to do a couple times, and then Rattler and that new young core, whoever it may be, that's it. That's the next chapter, right? That's how it moves forward. And if the season went that bad, more than likely it's with a new head coach and you're following that head coach's vision. That's it. That's the playbook. Like that is the alternative. That is, I think, the plan versus let's force Rattler in here for absolutely no reason.
Went down. Like you could potentially maybe see a world where if things go very south, he becomes a guy, or maybe he gets an opportunity because of injury. But either way, I feel like he has to be your QB2.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, he's QB.
Other major takeaways for the game. The Trevor Penning jet sweep play.
The block that we covered this in the video yesterday when he absolutely flipped the end inside out. I mean, just the defensive end at one point was seeing every single timeline in human history. He was in parallel universes. Trevor Penning hit him so hard.
I've seen enough. I've seen enough. And
he did play better, but yes,
it's not because he got beat. It's not because.
Oh, this obviously is not the play I'm talking about. I want to know the play he's talking about where Penning looked bad, I suppose.
He got beat. It's that body language. He got bench pressed into oblivion and put in the ball carrier's lap and then seemed mad at the guy running the ball for not, like, I don't know.
I must have missed this play. Someone, if you have this play, link it in the comments. I did not see this play that he's talking about. I thought he was talking about the play that's been all over the place where Trevor went full-on Monty Brown with the pounce in TNA. Man, that is an old school reference, niche wrestling reference right there. If you get the Monty Brown, the alpha male Monty Brown reference, kudos to you.
For not like cutting up inside of him, like somehow getting around him.
Jesus,
I just, it really, really frustrated me. And you could say he played better, but the thing is, he's going to always remain limited with that form.
Yeah,
no doubt.
He's still out here shuffling, clicking his heels.
Just because I said it was better does not mean it was good.
Go look at the touchdown play. The block that he has there. He gets. I think Udo's got to be your starter.
I think right now Penning's a starter. I think right now I think they're going to go with him. I'd be shocked if they don't. There would have to be more of a cultural issue, more of a, like you said, the mental side of things for him to not get the start. I think he's going to get the start at right tackle, and then again in week 1, we're going to find out a lot of answers. And in week 1, if Penning is exposed early, which he absolutely could be, then yeah, he probably will get sat down immediately. I think it is a razor-thin margin of error with Trevor Penning right now, where they kind of have to roll the dice on him at this point. You're too late into his development to keep delaying it. You might as well just see what happens. And if we're early on where he's getting beat and he's flopping all over the place and he's rolling around on his back like a turtle, then yeah, they'll probably tell him, hey man, why don't you go see what the locker room looks like? Hey man, why don't you go grab a couple of dome dogs up in the 500s? You know, take a walk, my guy. Go see hey, how's the weather? Go check outside for us. Hey, somebody lock the door behind him. So that could absolutely happen early. That could absolutely happen in the first quarter, second possession. You could see him taking his shoes off. So yeah, it's real close with him. He has to, because T-Bob's right. Like mechanically, the technical aspects of him, horrific. They have not gotten better at all. He still does have the physical ability, like on the block that I was talking about, to do the job. Can he do the job enough in one game to hold on to his starting right tackle position? We'll see.
It's a liability. If you put Trevor Penning out there right now in a quarterback that probably deals with pressure worse than anybody in the NFL, he's in that conversation, right? Clean pocket, Derek Carr's completely different. And you can say, oh, it's every quarterback. No, some of those.
Yeah, it is not. I mean, but it also depends, the idea of clean pocket, the idea of hold the pocket while Carr sits back there, scan the field. We do believe that this system will not call for that. We do believe this system will call for quick, efficient, play action, misdirection, whatever, quick reads, get the ball out of your hands. That doesn't mean he can be a mailbox out there, but he won't be asked with forming up this pocket and holding pass protection for 3-4 seconds.
Those quarterbacks and the way that they can thrive in chaos is incredible. He's not one of them. You have got to forget ceiling, forget all what potential can be. You got to put the one right now, currently, that's going to protect Derek Carr the best and give him the best opportunity, because that is your quarterback.
Yeah.
That's you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's an offensive lineman. Who plus cares? There is no, the development, all the stuff we said about Rattler, who cares? Put the guy out there who can do the C job. If you can because right now we're begging for Trevor Penning to give us a D- performance. I mean, yesterday's game, he was better, yes. I'm acting like he might as well be Joe Thomas because I saw a handful of decent plays, right? So, yeah, I don't care about the potential or the, what ifs, or, we have draft capital, and I don't care about that at all. If there's somebody who's working on the maintenance crew and you think that guy can give you a C performance, put a helmet on him. Whatever, make him your right tackle. I don't care. So, yeah, if there's someone on the roster that you think could do it, I'm with Jacob. I'm not taking the chance at all. I mean, this is Derek Carr. This is win now mode. This is Dennis Allen's job is on the line. Derek Carr's career in New Orleans is basically on the line with this season if it goes south. So there's too much at risk. If there's an alternative, there's too much at risk to roll the dice with Trevor Penning. Now, if there's not an alternative and you're thinking this might be the best option we got, then yeah, like I said, I think you do start him. You see what happens, and maybe he is good enough to hold on. And if he's not, at least at that point, for sure. You
have moving forward. So solidify that. Don't worry about potential. Don't worry about having, Trevor Penning be a bust. He's already there. It is what it is. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And you've got a couple on your roster right now. You can't try to be the GM that tries to put him out there to fix your mistake. That's not how it works.
100% agree with that. Like GMs in any sport should not, and I mean, it's even beyond sports, but it's the sunken cost fallacy when it comes to gambling, or when it comes to poker or whatever, pot committed. Like pot committed is the dumbest thing in most cases, the dumbest thing a poker player can believe, because I'm pot committed, so I'm going to lose more money, right? Like at some point you got to just kind of swallow the loss. At some point you just got to say, okay, it is what it is, and I'm getting out of here. And with the draft picks, for sure. With draft picks, you're not going to play a guy over and over and over and over and over again because you either have a lot of money into him, or you traded a lot of assets for him, or you drafted him highly, or whatever. Like at some point, you got to do his best for the teams.
The best GMs to me are guys like John Lynch. John Lynch
Damn, I was just about to say that. I was just about to pause and say John Lynch is a good example where he could have easily forced Trey Lance to be the starter. He could have easily held on to Trey Lance and said, yeah, Brock Purdy was good, but we have all these assets in Trey Lance. And he could have started Trey Lance this season right here. No doubt about it. There are a lot of really bad GMs who would have seen the situation play out and said, well, maybe we can get the same production out of Trey Lance we got out of Brock Purdy, and then I can justify my trade. But what did he do? He did the total opposite. He said, you know what, whatever, I'm trading him for a fourth. Or trading whatever it ended up being after the valuation. So, like, yeah, John Lynch, what he did with Trey Lance, the trade was one of the worst draft trades of all time, but offloading him and going forward with Brock Purdy, and he saw enough. And there's a lot of GMs that would have done that differently.
Did Trey Lance and traded an entire draft for him to select him, realized he screwed up, had what he had in Brock Purdy, and trades Trey Lance to the Cowboys. Thanks for those 5 interceptions over the weekend to the Chargers. And that's a good
Trey Lance threw
5 picks to the Chargers. That is a GM that's not worried about always being right. He wants to be the best team. So you trade Trey Lance, you start Brock Purdy, and you don't try to force the issue.
Yeah, 100%.
So, okay, but not forcing the issue is interesting, Jake.
You saw the same thing with Tom Brady and Drew Bledsoe, where I'm sure there was a lot of people in New England saying, we think we caught lightning in a bottle with Brady, but Bledsoe is Drew Bledsoe. Like, this guy is an established, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Don't throw this away to go chase this dream with Brady. And a lot of GMs would have said, I'm going back to Bledsoe. Or maybe we can trade Brady and, his stock is high, whatever. And you hear it all the time. You heard it with Brock Purdy. You've heard it. You still hear it with Brock Purdy. You heard it with Lamar Jackson. Where people thought, well, he can't keep this up. Well, you gotta get rid of him while his stock is high. And we see it all the time. So, yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real kind of fork in the road there for a lot of GMs of, when do you move off of certain players? When do you go with the hot hand, or when do you go with the tried and true? There's a lot of those micro decisions there in the front office.
I think a lot of Saints fans right now are maybe trying to force the Rattler thing a bit too much. Like Ryan Smith says, I'd rather have us burn this year and roll with Rattler than stick to mediocre status quo.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's nuts. I mean, you could burn this year and burn Rattler, his promise or whatever, his potential at the same time. Like, what? Why? Like a lot of people believe that the only way a player can develop or get reps is in the game. They practice. They go to they watch film. They are developing a ton during the week and sitting on the sidelines. They do not have to play in the game. They do not have to lose. They do not have to get destroyed by a bad offensive line or get rushed into a system. They don't have to fail in order for them to develop. That's just not the case.
I would say this, though. Also, let's think about what's best for Spencer Rattler.
There you go.
QB2 is a pretty good spot to be. Like, have we not seen now Green Bay use this idea of, like, developing a talented quarterback, giving him a little bit of runway? Have we not seen him use that to great effect?
There are so many more examples of it working by taking it slowly than rushing a quarterback and then seeing if it works out. It's so obvious at this point that waiting, developing, sitting is the way to go.
I'm not saying if you don't get desperate, you make a move, and obviously injury is injury, but like it also might not be the best thing for Rattler to immediately be QB1. Maybe it is, right? But other guys have been kind of ruined by being thrown in there
Hell yeah.
a bit too early, and so I'm pumped on Rattler. I mean, you may have gotten a Dak Prescott type guy here, a later round pick that's going to end up being one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. But it's
super early. I mean, we've seen him play 2.5 games basically. So yeah, I mean, all this, we're talking in some serious hypotheticals here. He could end up being terrible. But right now, you got to feel good about him. Right now, you got to feel good about the future. And he got through the first hurdle, the first hurdle, I guess, was like rookie minicamp, training camp, and then the hurdle of preseason, but he's done fantastic. So now, yeah, let him sit. Job well done. Now we can see what it's like to go through a game day, to be in the dome, to do film prep and to game plan and to learn this system, and he'll have a whole nother year. And yeah, I'm thrilled.
It's just let's not like, I don't want to throw him to the wolves too early.
100%.
Not force it. Now if the situation demands it here in a few weeks, yeah, man, then it is what it is. But give him a little runway to still learn this thing a bit, and he's going to be better for it.
No doubt.
I'm with you. Again, the upside's better than Derek Carr, but right now, Derek Carr, what's this, 11th year in the NFL? Obviously, he is going to know things about the game that Spencer Rattler has yet to learn. And I really do think you have something. When you selected Spencer Rattler, we were all excited because we knew what the talent was.
Yeah.
And if you could just find the things around him to give him the chance to show, because he just didn't have that at South Carolina the last 2 years. You and I interviewed him at the Senior Bowl. We were blown away by his maturity.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we watched
Going through what he went through at Oklahoma, we've laid this out a million times, but that is one of those things where it can make or break somebody. And it seems like it has helped make Spencer Rattler. And a lot of the people who were saying, well, he was a punk when he was 17. Yeah, he was, for sure. But that was before he went through a whole hell of a lot. And maybe that did change him and mature him, and who knows? Like, that might be the best thing that ever happened to him.
watch a Netflix show when he's 17 years old and he's popping off. We're like, oh, that guy's a turd.
Yeah, unfair.
Forget about him. Let's cancel that guy.
Unfair.
It's like, man, he was 17, he had a camera in his face, and when you're on a reality show, those producers are trying to do what? Get moments like that. Now, he did those things, but they try to get the juiciest moments and put those out there. And we all thought we knew who Spencer Rattler was. Again, on air and off the air. And it's important to say, because on the air is one thing.
Oh, yeah. On the air, people can turn it on when the camera's in their face. People can turn it on. You know, we've seen that in a lot of different walks of life. But and some people act differently. When you act the same both ways, and if Jacob and T-Bob interviewed him, I guarantee you they can tell.
You're coached up.
Especially these two guys, because they've been in those locker rooms. They've been around these kind of guys. They know what those kind of players are like. You know?
Off the air. I mean, he was incredible. We were like, oh, my man. I did not expect that. So you have a guy who was a first-round talent, dealt with adversity, a generational type guy, and Caleb Williams comes, takes his job. He goes to South Carolina. There's ups, there's downs. I mean, the ups, the Clemson-Tennessee run was as good as anybody played in the country that year in a 2-game stretch.
Yeah.
But then we know he had no one blocking for him this year. The first game, he got hit like 17 times.
Which may actually be a positive for him.
Yes, because he's like, holy hell, a clean pocket?
Yeah, like too many.
I can step into this throw. I don't have to throw it like I'm Derek Jeter at shortstop jumping up in the air.
So many great college quarterbacks come from great college programs that have great O-lines that are better.
Yeah, a lot of times it's a problem. Alabama quarterbacks, we've seen that time and time again, where you're an Alabama quarterback, you have the cleanest pocket, you've got the best wide receivers in the world. I mean, you have legitimate NFL-level receivers who are making you look better than you are. You have sometimes Heisman-level running backs, always good running backs. You have a defense who is giving you great field position. Like, yeah, when you go from Alabama to the pros, and especially if you get selected by a bad team, it can be an absolute shock. 100%.
Better than their opponents the majority of the time, and so they don't know how to handle it when you're on a more even playing field. Like for Rattler, he might think the Saints O-line is good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, wow.
Talise Fuaga would have been by far the best offensive lineman that Rattler played with at South Carolina.
This is awesome, guys. Penning,
He's
you're
like,
the
oh
man.
my God, Landon Young, you're a
You
stud.
got a shutdown tackle out here.
He probably is.
So, but again, guys, look.
He probably is. That's
give it a little time. Give it a little time.
Yeah,
and,
agreed.
So bad.
and if it
we all
goes
agree with that.
disastrously, maybe it happens. But either way, you gotta be tantalized.
100%.
Wow, just
There you go. 100%. I just turned into a Spencer Rattler video. I thought it was going to be a bit of a preseason recap. But, yeah, I mean, it's important to lay out like what the Saints should do with Rattler moving forward. 100%. So let me know in the comments below what you think. What would you do with Rattler? How would you kind of plan this all out? Or am I wrong? And he should start in 2 weeks against the Carolina Panthers. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. That all rhymed. Bit of a Dr. Seuss.